So I wanted to tell a story. I don't even know if this is gonna be a story, but I'm gonna tell something. Basically, at one point, I was having a absolute crap ton of panic attacks. I would basically like do anything, and it would trigger a panic attack. So, more specifically, I would like go to the grocery store, and I would just be sitting there at the stoplight waiting. It's red. I'm just sitting there, and the rushing of cars going like across the road would trigger a panic attack. Uh, I would just go into any social situation, and bam, that would trigger a panic attack. Oddly enough, I was watching Attack on Titan at that time, and I have no idea why, but the show, when I watched the new episode each week, it would trigger a panic attack. There was actually one week where I stayed up late because the new episode came out Saturday at midnight. Stayed up late for it. It came on and I just couldn't do it. Theme song came on and it was just so intense that like it was like triggering a panic attack, and I just could not. So I had to wait a week until I was like desensitized or something, and then I could watch the episode. And actually, one of my songs kind of, or so there's another time where I was standing in line. I think I was at Panera, and like the world, I was pretty sure I got close to fainting. Like nothing happened. I was just standing in line, thinking about getting food, and then the world just started like turning and twisting, and panic attack triggered. Can't I think I might have went back to my car, didn't even get the food. Can't remember completely. Or I might have just pushed through it, I can't remember. And yeah, basically I wrote a song about that because it was so intense. And I was thinking about it, and I was just kind of thinking about miracles. I don't know if I would consider it exactly a miracle, but when I think of miracles, this story comes up. And I think it's more like survival. It was kind of ridiculous that nothing would trigger panic attacks, and it kind of wasn't okay. And I realized that it's like, well, this cannot continue. I'm literally becoming dysfunctional, like cannot function in everyday life. So I actually went to a therapist. They didn't do crap. They didn't help me at all. It was worthless. Like I went in there being like a professional myself, and it seemed like I overwhelmed them. They're like, "Ooh, you know exactly what you're talking about, and I cannot help you with these precise details of what you're dealing with." And I was just like, "Oh, nice." So I really just got lucky that I'd been watching Dr. K and Healthy Gamer for a long time, and right around that time, he was covering so much content that dealt exactly with panic attacks and related things. And I remember he said some things that kind of clicked with me. And he also maybe talked with somebody. Uh, that I just noticed that my camera is kind of low down, so my head's like way down here. Um, I think he might have talked with someone else that dealt with the same thing. And seeing that and knowing that there's like a success mode, it just like clicked in me. And obviously, it wasn't instant, and it it wasn't just that. I started like really taking notes on what like I started really taking notes on what he said, and then eventually I kind of understood everything that Dr. K and Healthy Gamer had to offer in terms of information when it comes to that. And so then I took that and I did more research on my own, just using the entire internet, until eventually using that knowledge I gained from various different places and just practicing and experimenting with my own mind, I was able to overcome the panic attacks. And I even remember it specifically. I basically, I don't, well, I remember some of it. I remember I specifically created a framework of mind that I could activate, and then it just like, if I was like going up, about to hit, like panicking, about to go into a panic attack, I just remembered, oh yeah, let's use that framework of mind, and then bam, it was all good. And I remember telling my friend, because he was kind of like going along on the journey with me, because I kind of forced him. Every time we hung out, I would just randomly tell him about it. And then one day I'm like, I did it. I I studied up, and now I literally have a framework that I can like basically execute like a function, and I don't have panic attacks anymore. And that wasn't true, completely true, because I remember I don't have them anymore, but at that time when that clicked and I was like figured that out, it's it's like I said earlier, like they would still trigger and then start to happen, and then I'm like, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap, but then I could always catch it and then turn it back around. And I just actually um while silently burping to myself, I remembered it was basically processing. That's exactly what it was. It's acceptance and processing. Thinking back on it, I think it was much more complicated back then, and I've simplified it now, I suppose, and that's why I can just say acceptance and processing. Back then, I was like, okay, first you do this, next you do this, then you do this, and I would like tell my friend about it, and but yeah, that's what it was. Like something would trigger, literally nothing would trigger these panic attacks. It would be literally nothing. Like there was no logical reason whatsoever. I would look for any spark of a logical reason. There was no thoughts in my head. No thoughts were going through my mind that caused it. I could be completely thoughtless, and it would just trigger. And it feels, just imagine like you're about to faint. That's kind of what it felt like. And what ended up working is literally leaning into it. So you would feel intense body sensations of panic and possibly fainting, and then you just let those sensations happen. You literally just feel them to the extreme. And doing that was, I guess that's kind of acceptance, and I guess some that's also maybe not the complete processing of the emotions, but it's at least progress there. And that's, yeah, that's what solved it. And yeah, it's been years since I've had one.